So when I see this artist, I think of the stories that you have told in the past.
Which I'm not going to tell
Which
on this
he's
short.
not going to tell, but he's got stories. This is James Rosenquist. He's a pop artist, American. He was born on November 29th, 1933. He incorporated a lot of advertising, commercialism, sign painting aesthetics, a lot of recognizable imagery into his work.
Yes, he did. And we typically classified James Rosenquist in with the pop art movement. Definitely artists such as Warhol or Robert Rauschenberg certainly come to mind when we're looking at Rosenquist's work. And they were all contemporaries and they all kind of ran together. At one time, Warhol actually proclaimed Rosenquist to be one of his favorite artists. Now, Rosenquist started out as a billboard painter. And so his hyperrealism, number one, and his scale, number two, come as no surprise because he's used to painting in a very large scale. So when he took to the fine arts and started making paintings, his paintings were immersive. He actually referred to them as immersive because they were incredibly large. Now he strayed outside once in a while. I like some of these more abstract sort of ideas that he sort of worked on where there's, there's notes, there's thoughts, there's things put in. Gets a little bit more into his thinking.
Yeah, I
rather
really
than,
like this one.
Yeah, rather than
because it is different components of memory and thought that you're seeing jump in there.
Instead of the hyper polished
Yes.
display sort of thing. So, but again, when we see his work, we kind of think about the world of advertising, the world of pop art. But again, with key points and what we want to talk about with these artist shorts, what are the things that you can take to the table if something were to come up and you wanted to talk about art? Well, when pop art comes up, we always talk about Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol, Andy Warhol. Okay, no doubt Andy Warhol was brilliant, right? But why don't you change it up a little bit the next time pop art comes up and you're talking about this and not talk about Andy Warhol? Bring up James Rosenquist. And that's actually going to be a really interesting departure from the normal conversation for a number of reasons, right? So number one, Warhol, we know Warhol's work. We understand about how he sort of elevated the popular culture iconography into the mainstream, or from the mainstream into the fine art world. He basically broke the myth of fine art, okay? But what Rosenquist does is he kind of pulls it back a little bit. So in a composition like the one we're seeing on the screen right now, we see iconography like we're used to from pop art, but presented in a way that's more conceptual. Therefore, I think making Rosenquist a much more interesting painter to reference. And if you took it that far, you might even go so far as to talk about Robert Rauschenberg as well, because Rauschenberg's immersiveness, his cacophony of images all kind of collaged together in space, really sort of lend a kind of another level to the pop art conversation. So, I think we're going to end on this one, which I thought you would really like.
I do.
Given the fact that there's a little pin-up thing going on,
Yes. Well, what I really like about his work, he does have a way of bringing in this triptych quality to a lot of his pieces. So it almost makes it like a religious iconography in a way. But yes, I absolutely love the image he's juxtaposing from mid-century America and very American themes.
Right. And in the 60s, we became, as a country, we became obsessed with popular culture, obsessed with consumerism, obsessed with stars. And it just kind of fits. Rosenquist's triptych as holy iconography fits beautifully. All right.
Yep. So that's James Rosenquist, and he was born on November 29th, 1933.